Ever listened to someone speak perfect English and thought, something's off? Maybe it's the rhythm, the tone, or the way certain words stretch or shrink. The grammar's right, but the music of the language feels off. Now flip it. A native English speaker tries to learn French, German, or Hindi and instantly trips over genders, endings, and formalities. Suddenly, English seems beautifully simple until you hit read or read, tough and through, or kernel spelled with an L pronounced with an R. Why is English both easy enough to start speaking in months and tricky enough to master in a lifetime? Welcome to the Airlearn Language Show, where we unpack strange origins, lost meanings, and how language keeps evolving. Today, we're exploring how English became a paradox, the easiest and hardest language on earth. Let's start with why English feels so approachable. In English, you don't have to memorize 24 verb endings like in Spanish, or remember whether a table is la table or les table like in French. You just say, the table. No gender, no articles to match. In German, you say, ich bin gegangen. I have gone. Verbs, participle, auxiliary structures, and cases to manage. In English, just, I went. Done. Even plurals are simple. Most of the time, you add an S. That's it. No gender, no case endings, no complex verb conjugations. From Hollywood to hip-hop, English is everywhere. Even before you study it, you hear it in movies, songs, memes, and social media. That exposure gives learners an intuitive sense of the language before they ever open a textbook. Of course, noticing these patterns is one thing. Actually internalizing them is another. That's where tools like Airlearn come in. Instead of memorizing lists of words or grammar rules, the app lets you experience English in context, how words flow, how sentences sound, and how native speakers actually speak. It's like stepping into the language itself. You start to feel its rhythm, quirks, and music, not just to read about it. That way, even tricky parts like phrasal verbs or unusual pronunciations start to make sense naturally. In Chinese, word order is sacred. In Latin, endings decide meaning. But English, it forgives. You can say, I didn't see him or I did not see him, both perfectly correct. That adaptability makes it easier to communicate, even when you make small mistakes. Now, let's look at why English becomes a linguistic puzzle once you go deeper. English spelling and pronunciation have been divorced for centuries. Take though, through, cough, tough, plow. 5 words, 5 spellings, and not a single consistent sound. This chaos traces back to the Great Vowel Shift between the 1400s and the 1700s, when pronunciation changed. But spelling didn't. So bite used to sound like beat, and meat sounded like mate. English froze in time on paper, not in speech. Compare that to Spanish or Hindi, which are largely phonetic. What you write is what you say. In English, spelling is a historical artifact, a museum of pronunciation long gone. Yes, English is simple at first, until irregular verbs start showing up. Go, went, buy, bought, teach, taught, put. And plural forms? Mouse, mice, child, children, person, people. Even native speakers memorize these by ear, not rule. Then there are phrasal verbs, the ultimate test for learners. Look up, look into, look after, look forward to. One small preposition changes everything. French or Japanese learners often find this maddening because their own languages use distinct verbs instead of combinations. English is a linguistic sponge. More than 60% of its words are borrowed from French, Latin, Greek, Norse, Arabic, Hindi, and even Chinese. That's why you have endless synonyms: ask, question, inquire, each with subtle shades of meaning. The result? A massive vocabulary that gives you precision and poetry, but also confusion. English began as a Germanic language, spoken by tribes from Northern Europe, the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes. It was close to modern-day German or Dutch. Words like house, water, strong, and mother come from this era. Then came 1066, the Norman Conquest. French nobles ruled England for centuries, and English absorbed thousands of French words: court, justice, army, beauty, color. At the same time, Latin remained the language of the church and learning. Suddenly, English became a three-layer cake: Germanic at its base, French in its heart, Latin on top. During the Renaissance, scholars imported Greek and Latin terms for science and philosophy, biology, and democracy. Then came Shakespeare, who invented hundreds of new expressions, and the printing press, which froze spelling inconsistently across regions. British colonization and global trade made English absorb words from every continent, from Hindi, bungalow, jungle, pajamas, Arabic, alcohol, coffee, algebra, Chinese, tea, ketchup, and Native American languages, canoe, barbecue, hammock. Each borrowed word carried its own rules, rhythms, and sounds, shaping English into a global mosaic. Unlike languages such as Turkish or Finnish that build long compound words, English relies on word order and helper words. We say will go or have eaten instead of adding long suffixes. English has 44 phonemes, but only 26 letters. That mismatch is why pronunciation varies wildly. In contrast, Spanish and Korean are nearly one-to-one in sound and writing. English uses strict subject-verb-object order. The cat chased the mouse. Swap it, and you change the meaning. Centuries of cultural mixing made English rich in metaphor. You break the ice, bite the bullet, spill the beans. These idioms don't translate directly. They're small windows into English-speaking culture. So here's the paradox. English is easy to learn because it's everywhere, forgiving and flexible. But it's hard to master because its spelling is historical, its grammar full of exceptions, and its rhythm tied to culture. A French speaker struggles with TH, a Chinese learner with plurals, a German learner with phrasal verbs. Each finds a different mountain to climb. English is easy to start, but infinite to perfect. It's a reflection of humanity itself, borrowed, adaptive, evolving. English didn't just borrow from other languages. It conquered, absorbed, and reinvented them. It's a global language made by history, chaos, and creativity. As linguist David Crystal once joked, English pursued other languages down alleyways to beat them unconscious and rifle their pockets for vocabulary. And that's why English isn't just easy or hard. It's alive. A language that tells the story of how the world learned to speak together. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What language mysteries or quirks do you want us to explore next? Drop your ideas in the comments below. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time with another story on the Airlearn Language Show.